Hello, my name is Doug Lazier, and I wanted to record this video to show you the steps for installing my new 2026 version of my donation software on a Macintosh. Okay, let's take a quick look first at the high-level steps that we will follow for the installation. We'll do the high level first, and then we'll dig in deeper to actually do the installation on a Mac. Okay, so at a high level, you're going to send me an email message requesting a copy of my donation software, and I'll send an email back to you with the Excel file attached and a link to download the user guide. You'll want to download both of those and drop them on a local folder on your Mac, and then open the user guide, and you're going to follow the section of the documentation titled Installation on a Mac, and we have the steps by step there. Once you've as you're following along on the installation on a Macintosh, those steps, you'll see that what we're going to do is open the software, and we will customize it. That is, to adjust it to meet the needs of your church or nonprofit organization. Those steps are to enter your list of donors and assign the donor numbers. In fact, we can take a quick look at that. I have a copy of it open here. So you'll go to the donors tab, enter your list of donors, assign donor numbers, the optional information like the physical address and or email address, and then you'll go over to the parameters, and this is where you customize it to meet your specific needs. I've given you almost 100 different parameters, so there's a lot of customization that's available, and I've tried to design it to be very flexible to meet your needs. A couple of the very important things that you'll want to do here is to, first of all, select your language. I ship with multiple languages in the software. Select your language so that all of the parameters themselves will show up in your selected language, and as well any of those parameters that use a drop-down, the drop-down items will then display in your selected language. So that's probably one of the first things you'll want to do. I'll just go ahead and switch it back to English here real quick. And then the other important thing that you'll want to do is to determine whether or not you want the software to be used for tracking donations only, or also using the optional functionality of tracking your expenses. Some of the parameters you'll see are very, very simple, like your church name and address. Others will actually alter the functionality of the software and possibly change the way the different screens look. So now in the user guide, I've given you information on every one of the parameters, and where needed, detailed information to help you set the parameters correctly. Once you've done the donors and the parameters, then you go to my menu. I've created a custom menu inside of Excel. For the donation software, you'll run this thing called Adjust the Tabs from the parameters, and it's going to read your parameters that you've set and march through every one of these worksheet tabs and make adjustments to them. Okay, once you've done that, the final step is just simply to save the Excel file, and then you can close it down. You're ready then to do your first donation. Wait till you get your first donation, then you're ready to open up and do that donation. Okay, that's the high level. Let's take a look. At the details of doing that installation on a Mac. All right, as I mentioned, you're going to get an email message from me And let me go ahead and open that up. Okay, so in the email message, as I said, I will attach the Excel file and the I'm also attaching an Apple script file that you'll need to put on your Mac. So you want to download those two things, as well as download a copy of the user guide. And this should connect into my website. And you can then download it. Let's see, you should be able to do it from here. File, download, and you can select whether you want to do it as a Word or a PDF file. So download. Well, let's just go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. So I suspect that probably went into the downloads folder. So we'll go take a look at that here. All right. Here, let's go ahead and minimize this. Actually, we could probably close it. And then go back to the email message. And again, you will want to download. Don't open it in the email, just download it from here. So let's see how we do that. So right click and save to the downloads. What you could do is save the attachment or save to the downloads folder. And then we'll do the same thing for the script file. Save to the downloads folder. Okay, the next thing we'll want to do is we will want to go to our Finder. And from the Finder, we should be able to go to our Downloads folder. Okay, I'm not sure why I got two of those, but we'll take the script file and the Excel file. Now, I mentioned that the documentation contains the step-by-step for doing the installation on a Mac. So let's see, I did it as a PDF. Does that allow me to click on the installation on a Mac? Yeah, it looks like that'll go to page. There it is. Okay, so again, a lot of information here in the user guide. So just open that up and follow down through there. I should be able to. Let me just close this because I have it open on a secondary screen. But the steps as you read through the installation on a Mac steps, the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and create a folder for our Excel file. So let's go ahead and right click on it and say we want to do a copy. And now we can go to our local drive and create something. I'm going to go ahead and do it under the Documents folder. Let's go ahead and right click there, and we're going to do a new folder. Now the sample that I'm doing, the organization that I'm doing today as a sample is the First Church in Georgia. So our folder might just be named that, First Church Donations. Okay, so that'll be the folder name. So we created that folder. We'll open the folder and then we can paste our Excel file there. Now, the Excel file that I send you has this kind of generic name, so I think a good next step would be to go ahead and rename that. And just kind of like we did on the folder name, we'll call it First Church Donations. And I guess if you're using it for both donations and expenses, you could leave the and expenses in there, kind of up to you. All right, now that we have the Excel file there, let's go ahead and drop back to our downloads. And I think it'd probably be a good idea to get our user guide and drop it over there as well. So just do that same copy methodology back to our documents, to our First Church folder, and drop the PDF version of the documentation here as well, the user guide. Okay. And again, as you read down through the installation for the Macintosh, one of the steps that it asks you to do is related to that script file that I included in the email. So let's just understand a little bit. I love how Microsoft Excel can run on a Macintosh. When I first created the software, it was just for Excel on a PC. But over the time that I've been doing this, and I've been doing it for more than 10 years, giving this software to churches and other nonprofit organizations, and updated and modifying it multiple times over the years. But I've seen a switch where a lot of you are using Macintosh. Right, in the early days it was all PC, but now I see a lot of you using Macintosh, and I guess I was really pleasantly surprised to find using Excel on a Macintosh. So that gave me the opportunity then to do some customization to my software so that it can run on both PCs and Macintosh. Okay, but one of the things about how Microsoft Excel runs on a Macintosh is that it runs in what's called a sandbox, and that's just simply an environment that the Excel can run, but it can't really get outside of the sandbox to affect and potentially break the Macintosh environment. So it's kind of limited in what it can do, and so this script file that I gave you is an Apple script, but it's the one thing within the Excel. It can talk to a script file. It can't do the functionality that the script can, but it can call that script file to do work in the Apple Macintosh environment, and so that's an important thing. Now it is a little bit geeky, so let's go ahead and just kind of walk our way through that here just a little bit. So, and I'm sorry, I should explain. The script is specifically to give you the optional functionality of sending emails out of the software. So the donation software can if you implement this, it can actually send emails from right within the donation software. It is optional because you don't really need it. The software is perfectly fine to work with, allowing you to print your receipts, print your reports to a physical printer, or to print them to a PDF file and share them that way. But it does have this optional capability where the software can actually talk to the Apple Mail and send emails using this script through Apple Mail. Okay, so if you are interested in that functionality, then what we're going to do is we're going to take go back to our downloads, and we want to copy that script file. Okay, and now here's where it gets just a little bit geeky, but let's go ahead and walk our way through it. And I do have again, this information is in the user guide, but we want to go to our Finder, and then within Finder we want to do the go command, and we want to go to a folder. Now the reason we're doing this is that the folder we're going to, if you just kind of browse through the different folders on the Mac, you'll actually have this one I think is hidden, so you won't be able to see it. But what we want to do is we want to go to the library. So you should be able to just type library. Okay, and then when we go there are many script files here already. And so what we need to do is we're going to look for a specific one, com.microsoft.excel. Okay, oops, sorry, it looks like it was here, com.microsoft.excel. Notice how the E in Excel is capitalized. Now, if this folder doesn't exist, you can just do a right click and create a folder with this exact name. Once you find the folder or create it, you would just simply right click and paste that script file in here. Okay, so again, optional functionality, but it is kind of nice to be able to, if you need it, to send email receipts or reports right out of the software. It'll go through your Apple Mail, and now that does require that you have set up your Apple Mail to talk to your underlying email system, whether that would be Gmail or Yahoo, or in my case, I'm using, I think AOL would be another choice. I'm using Yahoo, but AOL is another common one. So your Apple Mail is connected to the email system. My donation software talks to Apple Mail, who then passes it on and through your underlying email system. Okay. I guess the only thing that might be important to know here would be sometimes as you're putting the files here, you might get prompted from the Mac operating system to give some permission to the folders here. So if you get prompted about that, yes, please give the permission that it's asking for. Okay, so now we have the Excel file downloaded, we have the user guide downloaded, we have the script file downloaded. So now let's go back and continue the next steps. So that was under our documents, that's where we downloaded it. And in the folder we created, First Church Donations, and we're going to go ahead and open up the Excel file. Okay, so you should be prompted with this prompt that says, hey, this workbook contains macros. Do you want to disable the macros? And the answer is no, we don't want to disable the macros. The macros, that's called VBA code, and that's what allows me to provide lots of functionality for you to use the software without needing to be an Excel guru, because I've created code that does a lot of the work for you behind the scenes. And so you do need to enable the macros. Okay, now unfortunately you're going to have to click on this. You're going to get this prompt every time you open it. That's just an unfortunate way of how Excel works on a Macintosh, is it doesn't remember my answer to this question, and therefore it's going to prompt every time. So every time you open it, you will enable the macros. Okay, and part of the macro code that's running is providing this little prompt that says, hey, I can see that this is the first time you open the donation software. So I need you to take those steps to enter your list of donors, to modify the parameters to adjust the software the way you need it to, and then when you're all done, to run that menu item, adjust the tabs from the parameters. So it's just reminding you that you need to do those steps. Okay, and then it's going to give you one more prompt because once you're done setting it up, every time you open it, it's presuming that you're going to do a donation for today, using today's date. And so it'll prompt you to enter the date of the donation. Now for us, this is our first time. We need to set it up. We're not doing a donation right at the moment. So you either click the little red circle there, or click the cancel button so that we can just simply skip over that date and continue on. And as I mentioned before, we're going to go to the list of donors, and you'll see I have some sample stuff in there. So you're going to type in your names of all of your donors, and you're going to assign donor numbers. I know some churches use like an envelope system, in which case you would have numbers already assigned. You may also have another system that where you already have assigned numbers to your donors. If not, not a problem. Just start to start assigning your numbers, maybe 1 through 100 or something like that. I know for churches and possibly even for nonprofits, there's this concept of anonymous donations, or in a church environment, it's money put in the offering plate, but no name is assigned to it. It's kind of what we call loose offering. So you probably want to assign a number, and number 100 is a good one for those anonymous type donations. And then you'll see over here, donor by donor, you have the option of saying, yes, I want to print a receipt, or no, I don't. And so you can assign that. Now this is done through a little drop down, and that's where you can make that selection. Once you implement the email system, you'll have a fourth option here for emailing. But this little drop down, what you'll want to do is you'll want to copy that to all of your new donors as you list down here. So the easiest way to do it is move your cursor to that little green square dot right there, and it turns into this black plus sign. Once you have that, you can actually just simply drag it down, and it'll copy that down. What it's copying is actually it's not just copying the yes or no, it's actually copying the drop down definition. So that's just an easy way to assign that drop down capability to all of your new donors. And for anyone that you don't want to print a receipt for, you just go back and select no from the drop down. Okay, that would be the donors. The next part would be then to go to the parameters. And as I mentioned in the earlier part, you'll probably want to first thing select your language. Okay, and you can see I have a lot of languages built into the software, and if yours isn't here, I've actually designed it in a way that you can do your own translation for the donation software. Just reach out to me though if you have that question, if you have that need, and I'll be happy to help you with that. Okay, so the next thing then is to decide whether or not we want to do the donations and expenses, or donations only. So you'll want to make that selection. And as I mentioned, some of the menu, some of the options are pathetically simple, like the name of the church and the address, right? And some of them again will be a little more complex and will actually change the functionality of how the software works, and as well as the different screens. Once you do all of those parameters, And again, read through the user guide where I've identified the information to help you understand how each one of the parameters work and options for them. And once you're done with that, then it's just simply a matter of coming back here and saying that you want to adjust the tabs from the parameters. Click that and it'll make the adjustments. Actually, there's a couple more we should visit here just very quickly. One of them here is the emailing option. Do you want to allow the software to do emails, yes or no? So you would want to turn that on if you want to do that email functionality. I'll tell you that if you do want to do that, I still need to confirm that the donation software can make its way all the way out to your Apple Mail and send email messages with PDF attachments to it. But it needs to test. I need you to test that and confirm that it works. So under my donation software menu, I gave you a menu item here that would do that functionality to test it, to send a sample message and make sure that it makes it all the way through. So that's something that would be important to do if you do want to use that option for emailing. So you would turn that on. You would come down to this parameter. Let's see, it's under the receipts. Oh, sorry, because it's because it's turned off. Because it's turned off when I send it to you. The options are hidden. Sorry, we'll just nope. Let's do it. It's too easy. Let's go ahead and turn on the emailing option, and then run this adjust the tabs. And now under the receipts, you can see there's an option here where you would enter an email address for doing that testing. So it'll send a sample message to that email. The other thing I just want to talk about briefly, I think it's one of the important parts of customizing this for your church or nonprofit organization, is where you would type in and identify the names of those different funds or categories that you use for your donations. Okay, I know some churches would use like a general fund, right? Or it might be the word offerings or tithes or something like that. You might have a category for your donations to missions. You might have another category for your charitable work. Okay, but you would enter those here. This is a pretty important part of getting it set up and customized. And then you also tell it how many categories you want to use. Now, I know like at our church, we have our standard categories that we use all the time, but then it seems like once a month or sometimes multiple times during a month, we'll do this special offering. Hey, we have this need. We want to collect a special offering to meet this specific need. Or hey, it's summer is getting ready to start, and we're going to do a vacation Bible school here in the summer, and we'd like you to have an opportunity to donate towards that ministry. So we're always doing these special offerings. So I just wanted you to be aware that in addition to these up to 20 different categories that I gave you, you will always have, in addition to those 20, the idea of special offerings. So you don't need to put the word special in here, because I'll give that to you specifically. And we do have the software does support that concept of in kind, or what some people refer to as non-cash type donations. That is also one of your options. But you'll see over here, in addition to the named categories that you put in there, is that idea of the special offerings. All right, the other thing I might want to talk about here would be if you are using it to track expenses, then you get the opportunity to tell the software the names of the different accounts that you have, like your checking account. Maybe you also have a savings account at your bank. You might have a credit card account, and this allows us to as we're entering expenses, also assign them to the specific accounts where the money comes out of, so that we can actually delineate that. We also then use this to help you calculate your balances for each of those different accounts. So you give it the opening balance for the year, and then as the software is doing deposits and you're also entering your expenses or your payments, we can use that information to calculate our current balance. And again, I give you up to 10 different accounts to track in there. And then the other thing, if you are using the software outside of the United States, then you'll want to come down here to the currency portion and customize this to match your currency. So based on the different coins, you enter the name of your coin and its value. You do the same thing for your paper dollars. And so this is where you can customize the names of your coins and dollar bills and their valuation, their value, so that the software then understands, as you're doing your donations, then how to help you reconcile your cash donations. So that's an important part. Okay. Okay, a couple additional things that I wanted to talk about, and this is related specifically to the Macintosh, and I guess what I want to talk about is the idea of iCloud. So I know from working with some of you, you've desired to put this Excel file not on your local drive, but in the iCloud environment. And so if you're doing that, then I've given you a couple parameters here that you'll need to pay attention to. And in fact, first of all is to let you know that please read the portion of my documentation related to using the Excel file in iCloud, because I think it's important that you read through that. But just at a high level, when this Excel file is in the iCloud environment, as we're working with it and we get all done making changes, we hit the save button, it will go correctly back to the iCloud environment. But within my software, I have a portion of it as you're recording your donations where I want to keep a copy of that particular set of donations. If you're at a church, it'd be that particular weekly donation. I want to write I want to write a backup Excel file, just a copy of all of the details of what was entered that week, and that file save as type of an operation from within my software. It can't find its way correctly back to the iCloud account. So what I've done for you then is I've given you an option, one of the options here, and this would be under the donation entry portion, because that's what we're talking about, is making a little backup of that particular donation. But we have a spot here where you would put in a pointer to a local folder. So even though the Excel file might be out on iCloud. Let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so the Excel file itself might be out on the iCloud, all right, but I need you to then come to your local drive and actually then create a spot here for these little backup files. Okay, and so what you'll need to do is you'll need to be able to identify the specific folder name, because it's not just this folder, it's where that folder is actually located. So you see it's here on the Doug SSD /users /Doug Laser /documents /First Church donations. So that's how you would need to enter the name. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the place where it'll tell me there. What I did is I right-clicked on that name where this folder is located, and I'm going to choose copy as a path name. And now what I can do is come back to this parameter and paste that in here. Okay, now unfortunately it looks like it didn't get everything, only part of it, so we'll have to add the final folder name. Okay, so got us the path to the folder but did not include the final folder name in here. But this is what you would need to do then, is to give a location where we can, on your local drive, keep a copy of these little backups. Now I've seen a few cases, and what this is it's kind of an option in the Apple world where the Mac is set up to use something called optimized storage. So this is a case where you think you're putting the files on your local drive, but the optimized storage is where the Mac is actually grabbing your file itself and automatically moving it out to the iCloud environment. So again, I discussed this in the user guide, but if this functionality, this methodology doesn't work because the Mac is grabbing even this local folder, files on the local folder, and throwing those automatically out to the iCloud, well then this idea of putting it local is not really going to make it local. So I've given you one other option here, and it's a little bit different, a little bit weird. So I actually put it way out, way at the bottom of all of these options. Scroll all the way down, and it's around row 380, 383. Oh, here it is. Yeah, right around row 383. Use a special code for running Excel on your Mac in the iCloud environment. And so you'd want to set this one to yes. And again, if you have questions about this, please reach out to me. But what this is going to do, if you set this one to yes, when it gets around to where the donation software is trying to save a file, it's going to actually prompt you using the Mac dialog box. It's going to prompt you to pick a location of where to find it. And because it's going through the Mac operating system dialog boxes, it does actually find its way correctly there whether it's going to a local drive or it's actually because of the optimized storage going back out to the iCloud, or even if you want to intentionally put it on the iCloud, you can use the Mac dialog box to tell it to go out there. So that's just an extra feature and option that I have on the Mac part only. Okay. Actually, I think that pretty much covers a lot of the detailed information about doing the installation here. And again, all of this stuff is detailed out in the user guide. So please make sure you get a copy of that and read down through that. Okay, this is what I wanted to cover in today's video. Thank you for the opportunity to show that to you. And again, if you have any questions or problems, please reach out to me.